Hello, Authentic Kingdom Ambassador. Back to talk to you another time. I hope you have been watching those videos. Hope you have been learning from them, understanding them, sharing with me. Hope you have been subscribing and liking. I'm back and we're going to be talking again. And we are focusing on the mind, a very important part of us, a crucial aspect that sometimes we do not pay any attention to. And without the mind or the healthy mind, we're all messed up. Wonder why sometimes we have some terrible feelings, some emotions that will not go away. Hmm right up there. Let's talk. I'm going to be sharing my slide with you. And we are going to be talking this time about self. Self is more than a body. I'll be sharing my slide with you just now. Self is more than a body. Look at it. Here we go. Many persons do not stop to think that when they think of themselves, it's not just a body or body parts, whether internal ones or external ones. Internal ones like the heart, the lungs, the kidney, and the external ones like my hands, my face. Most people think of the external ones because those are the ones that they are seeing, and those are the ones that people are seeing, and those are the ones that people make the comments on. Oh, you're looking so good. Or the person may say, I'm not looking good as I'd like to do. That's why we have so many persons doing little surgeries and little addition, the silicone breasts and those bottoms, because they pay attention to the external. But self is more than a body. Follow me as we go a little deeper into it. Now, what we need to understand is from the beginning, we were created. We were created from the dust of the earth. Check out Genesis 2 and verse 7. The dust of the earth. And we cannot negate, even if we find arguments to talk about, all kind of evolution and all that. That cannot negate God's creation of mankind. So God made man from the dust of the earth. And if you think about making something from dust, from clay, you know that when it's really dry, it's going to break up and all of that. So God made man from the dust of the earth. But before man was like this in flesh, he was just dust and clay. Yes, but here the second part of it. God breathed in his nostril the breath of life. No, when God breathed in his breath, the breath of life, the Bible tells you, creation story tells you that man became alive. Mankind became alive. That is when the blood starts. That is when the flow starts. That is when the flesh was formed, because the clay now becomes flesh. You know, when you have some things and you mix it up with something, it takes another form. When the breath went in, then it took another form. So we are originally clay with the breath, God's breath inside of us. Now, when God breathed into man, that was God's spirit. God breathed his spirit into man, generated man's spirit. Now, spirit, we talk about it in relation to the mind. So, your spirit is your mind, because there's nowhere in your body called spirit. No scientist can tell you that, but we can't operate without our minds, because if we try to do that, then it means that we are really insane. Because when we are without our mind, then we can't function, meaning the mind is gone funny. We can't function well. We recognize that it is a mind that really bring the messages in and to the brain and the processing and all of that. Many people need to stop to think about the power of the mind and how crucial and necessary the mind is to the body. And perhaps that is why we have some of the feelings we do have. We have some of the world view that we do have. We come debilitated and crippled mentally under some of the challenges of life because we think of our body primarily and do not pay attention to the mind. But self, it's not just a body. When we think of self, we must think of a mind, and that is the driver of the body. Yes, ruah in the Hebrew word for spirit means breath. That was the breath that God breathed into man, the spirit. I could have that clear for you. Yes, the spirit that God breathes into man. So we have three spirits. We have the spirit of God, the spirit of man, and the spirit of Satan. Yes, so we have those spirits operating because God is a spirit. He said that. The devil is also a spirit, and man has a spirit. So mankind has a body and a spirit. Yes, God is a spirit. God makes body. Yes, Satan is a spirit and operates within a spiritual realm. So the spirit of man is the mind of man. And if you go into the scriptures, you will see that clearly. No, as we get past that, we are still saying self is more than a body. Man's mind, as I said before, is a spirit. Man's body without his mind is useless. I want to say this again. A man's body or a human being body without the mind is useless. And guess what? The body can deteriorate, and if the mind is well, you can still function. But if the mind deteriorates and the body is well, you have a problem there, a big one. Self is not just a body, it is more than a body. Self is a body with a mind. So the next time you think about self, remember it is not just your body you're talking about. You should be talking about your mind as well. Yes, self constitutes body and mind. And I cannot overemphasize that, but I really want to tell you that self is not just a body, self is mind and body together. All right, so we have a little more way to go. Let's look at this again. And the question is coming at you: how do we value self? So now that we know that self is mind and body, how do we value self? Do we pay more attention to the body and to not the mind? What about our self worth? How about that? And we find our self worth in the evidence of our self concept, our self esteem, our self respect, our self love, self confidence, self motivation, and self actualization. If we really want to know how we value self, we can look at these and determine how we value self. How do you think about yourself? When you think about self esteem, where are you on the scale? Some people are high, some people are low. Where are we? Self respect? Think about that. And we are not going to be taking them in parts at this time. I'm just sharing with you that the evidence of how we value ourselves is found in these and any other self area that you can think about. Yes, that's where you will discover whether you value self or you do not value self. No, self, as we said, is mind and body. But sometimes there's a conflict and discrepancy between the mind and the body. And that is where we will have challenges. And some of these challenges, they are always unhealthy if there's a conflict or a discrepancy between the mind and the body. So your mind is saying something and your body is saying something else. Yes. So you're thinking that you have no self-worth, but at the same time, you're putting on these kind of clothes, you're putting on hair, you're putting on nails, you're putting on all those things to big up the body. But in your mind, you feel so small. In your mind, you feel like you're nothing. So there's a discrepancy, and that is unhealthy. So we have challenges between the ideal and the real self. We have challenges with low or unhealthy self-esteem. We have challenges with poor self-concept, and we have dissonance. And sometimes we call it cognitive dissonance, where the mind is thinking something else, the body is doing something else. You know, that kind of conflict and the discrepancy. a bad place to be, because that happens when we are unhealthy. We are unhealthy because we do not value the mind as we are valuing the body, and the mind is at work. The mind capture all the information around, anything that people says to us, and because we are not paying attention to the mind, we allow these things to come in and they can damage us. Sometimes there are positive things too, but how we perceive them can be good or bad. But we must pay attention that the mind is the driver to the body. The mind determines our state. Yes, that is so. That's how it goes. So let's move on. Yes, there must be synergy between mind and body. Self must be synergy between mind and body, and it must be positive synergy for us to be healthy. So think about that. You can't be your true self if there's no synergy between your mind and body. And I talk about positive synergy now. But if there is negative synergy, you'll be still exert exhibiting negative behaviors, negative thoughts. Some people do some bad things. Some people do some things that we can't understand. It's coming from the mind. Let's think about the mind. Yes, let's go to the next slide. We are still saying self is more than just a body. Perhaps you want to hear more about this. Perhaps you want us to go into some of the challenges. Perhaps you want to hear about the low self-esteem and those areas that we can look, the ideal self and the real self, and how can we correct some of these things that are happening. If you have a low self-esteem, how you can correct it. Of course, we can talk about that. So we're going to be asking you to like this video, subscribe. There's a red button there. Subscribe and share. Do not hold it for yourself. Tell other persons. Authentic Kingdom Ambassador. Find it on YouTube. And when you find it, make sure you subscribe. You will get the next video that comes. Bless you. See you in the next video. Yay, yay. Self is not just a body. It's a synergy between mind and body. Catch you next time. Bye.